Hello, I will now present a case study on Broca's aphasia. The appropriate goals for this client are: the client will write for functional purposes in daily life. The client will verbally communicate his thoughts and needs in everyday situations. The client will participate in role-play activities using complete sentences for 60% utterances. The short-term goal number 2 is the client will spell 4 to 6 words within a category with 60% accuracy given visual cues. Short-term goal 3 is the client will independently produce grammatical sentences in a picture description task with 80% accuracy. And short-term goal 4 is that the client will independently produce grammatical sentences when answering questions related to a written passage with 80% accuracy. So the client, John, is a 59-year-old male. He visited the North Shore Hospital ER on such and such date, presented with Broca's aphasia and general seizures. The patient was diagnosed with advanced stage small cell lung cancer 2 months previously. And Broca's aphasia, it's that the individual sounds are not problematic, but the problems occur when the patient has to switch from one articulation to another. The individual has a problem with the production of linear schemes, which also has effects in other domains, so writing is also impaired in a similar fashion. In later stages of this condition, agrammatism emerged. One of the most striking characteristics typical of the speech of Broca's aphasia is its agrammatism, the omission of function words. Some researchers have proposed a dual rote processing system in which the rote for grammatical items is said to be impaired for individuals with agrammatic aphasia such as Broca's. Individuals with Broca's aphasia in general also suffer from apraxia of speech, ideomotor apraxia, and right hemiplegia of various degrees. Broca's aphasia is classically associated with a lesion in the posterior part of the inferior frontal gyrus, the insula, and the frontal operculum. The most posterior portion of the inferior frontal gyrus is part of the operculum. Premotor and prefrontal areas of the cortex, subcortical regions, and parts of the basal ganglia may be affected. In Broca's aphasia, 2 distinct subtypes of agraphia have been described. One is characterized by difficulty in grapheme production, and the other is associated with agrammatism. So Broca's system includes BA44, BA45, BA46, BA47, and mesial BA6, supplementary motor area, and extending subcortically toward the basal ganglia and the thalamus, which is not seen. The test findings found that the client had poor auditory comprehension, reads only single functional words, copies only single 3 to 4 letter words, has severe apraxia, some useful gesturing, and no strategies during communication breakdowns. So the therapy that we will be using is treatment of underlying forms. Treatment of underlying forms helps treat sentence comprehension and production in patients with agrammatic aphasia. The client was first trained to comprehend the underlying forms, which included passive, active, passive, object cleft, and sentences and WH questions. The client was presented with the subject, agent, and object of a sentence written on separate index cards and a picture depiction of the sentence. For example, the passive form of the dog chased the bird is the bird was chased by the dog, and would have 5 index cards, where the forward double slash denotes a nude index card. The bird was chased by the dog. When training the client to comprehend the underlying form, the client was asked, what is the action of the sentence? Chasing. Who is doing the chasing? The dog. Who is being chased? The bird. The client was provided with words on index cards and asked to move the cards to produce the target sentence. The client orally read and produced the target sentence. In the branched-down version, the client was provided with the subject-agent-object sequence of the active sentence and instructed to insert it was and who for the object clef form, was and by, for the passive form, seems and who and did for the WH question form. In the branched-up version, the client was provided with all the cards and asked to produce the target underlined forms. The client's knowledge of functor words is, am, are, have, got to, the, a, you, he, she, do to, of was reinforced through homework assignments, where the client had to choose the grammatically correct sentence when presented with two options. And that is it. Hope you enjoyed my presentation.